Among the many thousands that fought their way ashore on D-Day, there was a group of men who never took up arms. They were the chaplains, ordained men of various denominations, who stood shoulder to shoulder with those they served. One of the first to land here on D-Day kept a diary, which has been described as one of the most vivid and illuminating of all war memoirs. J.J. Chalmers went to the Imperial War Museum, Duxford, to read it for himself.
June 6th, 1944. Up 0500 hours, cold, wet, seas rough. This is it.
From my time serving in the Royal Marines, I know the value of a good chaplain, or Padre as we used to call them in the British forces.
Methodist minister Leslie Skinner was Padre to the Sherwood Rangers on D-Day. His daughter Annette knew very little about his wartime service until he revealed his diary late in his life.
So once you finally read the diary, what were your first thoughts?
Gosh. Because that was a side to my father I knew nothing about.
0700, running for the beach, under fire by 0710.
He saw it as his mission to go over on D-Day, but the landing craft he landed on was hit.
I was blown backwards onto a Bren carrier, but okay.
He describes him having a terrific pain in his left side, but on that same day, he carried 46 invalids out to a boat that was going back to England, and he had to carry them up the rope ladder. He was only 5'6". How he got the strength to do that, I do not know. And that, to me, sets the tone for my father.
He was unusual in his insistence that he experienced the same sort of activity that the people in the front line experienced. He doesn't just minister in a religious sense, he does things like he carries cans of food and water to the front line when he thinks the guys have been out there and probably under it a bit. He'll volunteer to do that sort of thing.
But of course, one of his primary duties was to carry out hundreds of funerals, often for men who had become his friends. Friday, 9th June. I buried him close by the hedge, near where he was killed. Being quite alone and reading the brief order of service over the grave affected me deeply.
He wanted to shield the men as much as he could from the really terrible sights that were apparent when comrades and many in the unit had been killed in action.
Friday, 4th August. At another tank, 3 bodies still inside. Squadron leader offered to lend me some men to help. Refused. Less men who live and fight in tanks have to do with this side of things, the better. My job. This attitude meant that Padre Skinner often found himself in harm's way.
You know, army uniform is you run out of pockets, so he always put his Bible in his berry, you see. And when he was shot, the Bible absorbed the shrapnel.
You've got to think someone was looking over him that day.
Exactly.
Padre Skinner survived the war and served in many different Methodist churches. He died 6 weeks short of his 90th birthday.
So, how do you remember him?
Funny, dry, kind. He was a good dad.